Good day, folks, and we're at the Edinburgh Quay, Fountainbridge Square today, and I'm going to tell you all about Barges, a very interesting vessel, the barge. Now, the origin and meaning of barge: early 14th century seagoing vessel of moderate size with sails. From Old French barge, boat ship. Old Provincial barca, from medieval Latin barga, perhaps from Celtic or perhaps from Latin. Barca, from Greek baris, Egyptian boat. From Coptic Bari, small boat. From late 14th century as river craft. Barge used on state occasions. Raft for ferrying, meaning flat-bottomed freight boat. Dates from late 15th century. In former times also a magnificently adorned, elegant boat of state for royal magistrates, etc. So that's the meaning and the origins of the barge. The intricacies of barge design has evolved over the centuries, and these unique vessels have been repeatedly refined in order to best accommodate their intended cargo and navigate their working environment with ease. One of the earliest known barges was Egyptian, dated from 2500 BC, officially acknowledged as the Khufu Ship. It was a solar vessel intended for use in the afterlife by King Khufu, the second pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, to allow him to travel through the heavens with the sun god Ra. The Romans used barges across their empire, canalising certain sections of rivers to make them navigable. For example, the Canal de la Robine, which flows through the town of Narbonne in southern France, was built in the bed of the canalised portion of the River Aude. Barges were used to transport goods such as wine and olive oil from around Narbonne, as well as amphorae, a jar or jug with 2 handles and a narrow neck, from the town of Salesis the Aude, to the coast where they were loaded onto galleons and shipped to every corner of the Roman Empire. Now, where does the word barge come from? The word barge was first attested from the 1300s and derived from the Latin barga. The word could refer to any small boat, whether it be used for pleasure or for commerce. Later, from the same root, the word bark was derived, meaning 3-masted sailing ship, and the term barge became more associated with the flat-bottomed cargo vessels which we know today. Telling them apart. Superficially, many barges look similar in England. Broad-beam barges are generally referred to as Humber barges or Thames barges, while all Dutch barges are referred to Dutch barges. Modern cargo barges, which are mostly Dutch in origin, come in a variety of styles. Some, such as the Lux motor and the Tajalk clippers, are readily identified by the sweeping line of the hull, whereas the Belgian Peniche and Spitz have a relatively flat deck. Tajalks, whose name derives from Old Dutch meaning sailing vessel, have been around since the late 17th century, with a shape not dissimilar to a clog. They have seen widespread use as both cargo and passenger carrying vessels since their inception on the waterways of the Netherlands. Originally made from wood, iron Tajalks first saw production by the mid-19th century. By the beginning of the 20th century, the use of steel became more common, resulting in greater strength but with the potential for corrosion. All modern barges have one thing in common. They were designed to navigate in shallow waters. Some barges were built to carry freight through shallow inland or coastal waterways. Some were built for fishing in shallow waters. These barges can go anywhere where there is at least 3 feet of water and the fixed bridges are more than 10 or 12 feet above water level. Barges both on canals and rivers have played a major role in France's economy for centuries. By the 19th century, the canal network of Europe had links to the English Channel. Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea, however, a lack of standard dimensions made long-distance journeys difficult. This changed in 1879 when the Minister of Public Works, Charles de Freycinet, chose to standardise the canal network by ordering an increase in the length of lock chambers to 39 metres with a width of 5.2 metres, approximately 128 feet by 17 feet. A minimum depth of the basin was also required to be 2.2 metres, 7 foot 3 inches, allowing barges between 300 and 350 tonnes to pass. Likewise, new bridges and other structures built across the waterways had to meet the new standards of measurement. As a result of this standardisation, barges could travel long distances with their cargo essentially from the north of Holland and Germany to the south of France. And one draws a line on the map of Europe starting in St. Petersburg, Russia, and ending in Lyon, France. You could cruise through almost all the inland waterways on the continent to the northwest of this line with the same sized vessel. The evolution of classic barges. Until the end of the 19th century, most barges were either sail-powered or towed along the canals by the only other form of traction possible at that time, i.e. horse or manpower. With the introduction of the steam engine in the 19th century, however, steam tugs appeared initially towing barges in the estuaries of Belgium and the Netherlands. Seagoing barges which covered longer distances, such as the clippers and Tajalks that were delivering goods to England and Brittany, remained under sail until the 20th century. With the high cost of steam power, most canal barges still relied on wind, horses and manpower as the most common forms of propulsion until the First World War. With the improvement of the internal combustion engine after the First World War, many barges were fitted auxiliary engine. Modified barges could at first retain their sailing rig, but most eventually reduced this to a mast and boom used only to help with loading and unloading of cargo. The coming of the diesel engine gave barges greater independence from tugs and horsepower. At first, engines were not very powerful, and motor ships had to have pointed bows to allow a better cut through the water. This gave birth to the Lux motor, whose hull shape characteristics were the same as the tugs, with a sharp bow and a rounded stern. The accommodation behind the wheelhouse, including a kitchen and a toilet, were thought very luxurious for the time, especially considering that most houses did not have running water or indoor toilets, lending to the name Lux. Barges built from 1920 onwards were usually constructed of steel rather than wood or iron, and had an engine from the outset. The Spitz was originally towed by man, woman, horses, or later by a small steamer, which then towed several barges at a time. After the Second World War, a lot of vessels off the Belgian Spitz designed received an engine. For many, it was a decommissioned tank engine and had to be modified at the stern to allow for better steering, built to the Freycinet standard. Dimensions which had been dictated by Napoleon, it was well suited for the canals in the south of the Netherlands, France and Belgium. Modern engineering. During the 1920s there was a boom in Lux motor construction. The hulls were built of steel in the shape of the previous wooden barges, protected from possible sharp blows when entering locks by rubbing plates and a strong bow. Most were built between 18 and 30 metres, 16 by 100 foot. Long, however, some were lengthened in the 1950s to make them more competitive against the falling price of road transportation. By 1940, a new generation of barges began to appear, equipped with powerful diesel engines. This period represented the zenith of barge building in France, Belgium and the Netherlands. The northern canals in France were also modernised with electric or diesel tractors that could pull non-motorised barges. In some cases, winches with chains lying on the canal bed helped to pull barges through tunnels which lacked towpaths. Through the mid-20th century, competition from road and rail transport increased, but Freycinet barges still plied the canals and rivers all over the waterways of Western Europe. On larger rivers, a new generation of vessel called pushboats gradually replaced the tugs, pushing numbers of barges rafted together at the same time. However, on quieter canals such as the Canal du Centre in France, manual and animal traction remained in use. Waterway tourism. The real decline of water transport in France began in the 1970s, with road and rail taking over and government money being cut back for the canals, leading to lack of maintenance and in some cases collapse of banks, locks and tunnels. The Freycinet barges were scrapped by the hundreds, but fortunately, before things got too bad on some waterways, this period saw the advent of tourism and the birth of self-drive boating, holidays and hotel barging. Waterway tourism has continued to increase, and nowadays a large number of self-drive cabin cruisers and a collection of luxury hotel barges cruise through the most beautiful parts of the canal networks of Europe. Of the many types of Dutch barges built at the turn of the century, the majority are still around. The Lux motor, the Jalk, are the most sought after and the most expensive because they were built to a high standard and with attractive lines, many have now also become private floating homes. So there we are, folks. A little bit of an insight to the barge, the history of the barge. Very interesting vessel indeed. Now we're in the square. I may as well show you around and show you a few barges. We'll take a walk around, folks. Show you the barges. We're also near the Millennium Link here as well. You'll find out about that in Google. But we're at Fountainbridge Square. The Quay at Fountainbridge Square. There's some of the barges behind me. Very interesting swans here, the metal swans. Well sculpted. You see them there. An artistic touch to the area. Now we'll go up there, Lower Gilbert Bank this is called, and all these barges are all parked up here on this quay, as you can see there. If you're a fan of barges or vessels, sailing boats and vessels, it's worth a visit. It's a lovely view up there, see where all the barges are. There are barge trips throughout the whole of Scotland and in Great Britain, of course, but I was on the one at Falkirk, trip up to Falkirk to see the Falkirk wheel, etc, etc, and it was very, very interesting. A beautiful day, and you could just sit and have your lunch in the barge and just watch the beautiful scenery going by. I think at the end of the day it's one of the most pleasurable trips, waterway trips, you could actually experience. Barge trips. And there's more barges up that line as well there. Okay. Nice place to stay as well. There's flats and houses for sale here too. Nice view while you're having your breakfast out to the barges. Watch the barges. Very, very calm waters today as well. See the waters, how calm it is. It's amazing, very beautiful parts of Scotland and Edinburgh, the capital city of Edinburgh, in the heart of Edinburgh. This Quay. 4-star hotel, this one. This was a motel. You can come and stay in this boat, the motel. 4-star motel it's called. Luxury static self-catering accommodation. So, if you wanted to have a holiday on a barge, there, the Four Sister Hotel it's called. Static self-catering accommodation. Little summer break on a barge hotel. Alright. Fountainbridge Square. The Quay at Fountainbridge Square. And here you look at these swans again. And the barges. Very interesting. And a great place to visit in the heart of Edinburgh. The Edinburgh Quay. Hope you've enjoyed the journey, and signing out, hope to see you all on the next journey. TCSS, take care and stay safe. Bye for now.